coming up in the left-hand portion of your screen. We'll be recording the entire length of the talk, but we will only be sharing the first 20 minutes on our website. So without further ado, hello and welcome. And I'm Ann Masoni, and on behalf of the Society for Photographic Education, who is hosting this event, welcome. We are a member-based organization, and for those who aren't familiar with us, I'll be dropping the website in the chat window momentarily. A few protocols and reminders. As an attendance mechanism, please put your name and your email address in the chat window so that we can share with you any updates directly in addition to social media posting. It's a good way for us to get you all sorts of information that are coming from FotoFika. We've started you all on mute, or we've asked you to put yourself in mute so that the presenter can begin our meeting, presentations can begin our meeting. And we'll open it up to the larger audience once they've completed their presentation. So please stay in mute until then so that we can eliminate as much background noise as possible. Once we wrap up the presentations, we'll stick around so that we can have an informal conversation, and we'll ask that you present your questions in the chat feature so that we can help facilitate the conversation. And it'll also be an opportunity for us to capture those questions in the event that we don't answer all of them, or we can do some research to find the answers for them. As we said last week, and I'll repeat again, we are trying to establish a way to move forward in a shifting time, and we're certain that we can all do it together. So I'm going to pass the mic over to John.
Hey, everybody. I'm John Fryer. I'm an associate professor of cross-disciplinary media at Virginia Commonwealth University. And welcome to FotoFika. If some of you are joining us for a second time and some of you are new, this project, is it a project? I'm not sure. Came out of a few conversations that Betsy and I and Ann had around some of the forums on Facebook. People were posting different solutions and suggestions, and Betsy had actually posted a really thoughtful piece to photography professors. And I wanted to, we basically wanted to create an opportunity for us to share that post, and then all the great solutions that people are coming up with, because we found a lot of really great things happening in these forums. And I've, in the last week, subscribed to almost every kind of COVID transition forum, and we've been trolling them. So I feel like all I do right now is think about and look at solutions. My students don't quite think that I have the solution, but we'll see. So what we've done, and it feels like it's only been a week, but it really feels like about a month, is that we built a site, and I'm going to share that site with everybody. And right now it's at weallknow.photographyismagic. So I'm going to share that screen here so you can see what it is. And basically, we've built teaching resources and assignment ideas, and I don't want to go through all of them, but I just want to highlight a few of the things that we've built into it. So the first resource page is the one that I quickly showed last week, and this comes from Betsy's Facebook post from maybe last Monday. Right? Was it last Monday, Betsy? I mean, it feels like, again, a month ago, with just different suggestions on how to make this difficult transition. So it was really great to have her involved, and she was the inspiration for this. So I'm going to scroll down, and then we pulled a lot of different resources from other universities. At my university, people have built different resources. So if you're looking for help with transitions, we built that in, so you can take a look around. Last week also, Betsy presented an assignment on appropriation. So after we talked about it, we built that into the website as well. And again, I'll just scroll through. There's an introduction to us as instructors about her thinking about this assignment. There are examples of different artists that she mentions in her introduction. and then there's an assignment with suggestions for what the prompt is. And then what we're also doing, if I go to FotoFika here, is that we'll be posting all of our the recordings of these events, you know, the day or two after we've done it. So if you missed it or someone's missed it or they wanted to see something, last week we only posted the audio because we didn't give everyone warning that we were recording. And then the other thing that we completed this week is that we had a very extensive collection of questions that people gave in the chat window. And, you know, we stuck around for as long as we could for, 40 minutes and tried to answer as many as we could. But there were so many questions that Anne Massoni went through and really put a lot of effort into kind of addressing the issues that were most pressing to people that were on the call last time. So solutions for film scanning, digital printing. We've also returned back to the forums. So the digital printing, we have one lab listed here, and I think Anne posted a question last night, and there's about 15 different answers to that we will now incorporate into this. So, one of the things that I was finding, the forums are amazing because they have everyone's working with each other, but they're also challenging because I have no idea when somebody posted something and it's hard to find it after the fact. So the idea is to make this site a resource site so that all the great answers that are coming out of that can be here in one place.
Sorry, John.
No, go ahead.
I just wanted to mention that I think one of the issues that we're aware of right now is that overload is an issue. And I will wait till my turn to talk, but just wanted to jump in that's part of one of our really goals is to kind of try to help us deal with overload.
Yeah, because we're trying to filter through things that work as opposed to reading through 27 comments after each of these things. Although, unfortunately, I've been spending my time doing that. So we're really fortunate today to have an artist with us, an educator named Rebekah Modrak, and she has submitted the second assignment for FotoFika. It's called Windows Serenade, and I'm going to let her talk about it. But one of the things, Rebekah, are you on the line? You're here, I know, but can you unmute?
Hi, yeah, I'm
Hi.
unmuted.
Have we ever met in person?
We did, yeah. You gave I think in Utica, New York.
Okay. Because I feel like I've known you for a really long time, but most of our correspondence and connection has been over the phone and over the internet and over Facebook, right? And I guess a lot of us are like that because of SPE. So I think I'm going to pass things over to Rebekah, and she's going to talk both about this assignment, but also about Reframing Photography, which is a textbook that she developed. When was that published? In 2008?
10. Mm-hmm.
2010. So I'm going to unshare my screen and pass it over.
Okay. Hi, thanks. Yeah, am I showing up? I can't tell.
Yes.
Yeah? Okay.
Yeah, you are.
It's nice to see so many of you. It's funny to go from being around like 1 or 2 people to being with 73 people. I think that's one of the strange parts of our lives right now. So thanks, and thanks Betsy and Anne and John for starting this forum. It's been really helpful for me. I'm going to start with the photo book, more with the website that comes from the book, in case some of those resources are helpful to you. And the book, which is called Reframing Photography, in some ways, like I feel like when I wrote it for the coronavirus. not realizing it, because I wrote it when I started writing it when I was at Ohio State University teaching in the photo area there. And I was teaching a lecture class at the time for first year. Well, really anyone at the university could take this class, but our first year art students or photo students took it. But then there were, 400 other people who took it. And so we couldn't really be in the darkroom, and we had a lecture once a week, and then they did studio projects and some history and theory. And I was trying to think, like, what are studio assignments I could give them that aren't dependent upon them having a camera or them having access to the darkroom. And that started me and my friend Garth Amundsen. We sort of brainstormed this book at the time because, we were really interested in the idea that photography is so much bigger than a camera or a darkroom or digital tools, that it has to do with seeing, and it has to do with reproducibility, or series and sequence, or lighting and shadow. And so the book was meant to rethink photography, to release it from some of these tools that we associate with it so closely, and to think about it in other ways through other materials and other media, and then also to integrate practice and history. So I feel like a lot of the things we're thinking about are really maybe helpful right now when you don't have access to a darkroom or to digital tools. So I'm going to share with you the website for the book. Let's see. Okay, can you see my screen?
Yes.
Yeah, thanks. So this is the home page, and maybe I'll show you a few things that could be helpful to you during this time. This is the resources section, which is available all the time. You don't have to sign up for this. And if you go to, for example, artists, there's lists of artists whose work is related to photographic themes, which I define as vision, light and shadow, reproducibility, and editing, series and sequence. So you can search if you're interested in an artist that has to do with light and shadow. You can search, and then under each of their pages, I know Rebekah's with us today. We'll go to her site. It has links to their website, and then it has some of the images of her work. And there's also, under the artist gallery, there's videos of artists who have shared with us small documentaries about their work. One of them, let's see, Shannon Lee Castleman, relates to the project that John mentioned, the Window Serenade. So I'll just show you this site. This is a project she did where she introduced residents in apartment buildings to each other, inviting them to film one another. And in many ways, like, this was the impetus for Window Serenade, which I'll talk about in a minute, but there's a little 3-minute documentary here where she talks about this work. So these are things that you could easily share with your students. And then under teaching tools, so this is a site that you need access to, but to get access, you just click on this contact form and send in your request, and we sign you up pretty quickly. The Rutledge would love for people to be using the book to sign up, but I'm happy to sign anybody up. You can also just email me at rmodrak@umich.edu, and I can sign you up. So once you log in, it has a series of projects here. So these are projects that I pretty much created, reframing photography projects. And a lot of these, you do not rely on tools that your students won't have right now. So for example, let's see, let me choose one of these. Oh, this one, photograph without a photograph, or photograph without a paper, printer, darkroom. This is a project I used to do on the first day of class or the first week of class, where I asked students to make a photograph without using any photographic paper or a camera or digital tools. They couldn't use any art materials to make a photograph. And it's a really nice assignment for trying to figure out, like, what a photograph means to them conceptually. So, I mean, students would do things with with ice sometimes and freezing things, or, I mean, they would come up with all sorts of experimental ways to understand photography or what a photograph meant, maybe thinking about it as a collection or thinking about it as a moment in time, or, you know, however, whatever photographs meant to them in their lives. That project was really interesting. And then this, I'll show you one other one. This is Story from a Single Source. This is a project in which we give students a found image, like a nice kind of bizarre image that doesn't quite make sense. So I have some examples of those images here. And then we ask the students to use that image as a starting point and to create a sequence of images. So their first job would be to recreate the image they're given. Like, say they're given this guy pulling the boat. They have to figure out a way to recreate that photograph using just materials that would be in their home. And then they build on that image. So they have to create the second, the third, the fourth, and the fifth image in the sequence. And so the assignment is here with a lot of resources. This is some examples of how students did this. And so on. And then at the top, there are artists that you might want to show your students in relation to this, considerations with critiques, recommended readings that you could give them, and different other things that are helpful. Let's see. Okay, so then under Reframing Photography presentations, there's a series of slideshows, PowerPoints of images, and these all come from the book. So if you're asking them to read the essay about light and shadow, which brings up, you know, thinking about connotations of light over time and in different cultures, it has all of the images from that essay. And then this section is really nice. This is archive of projects where other instructors who teach photography have sent us projects that they like a lot, that they've devised. So for example, Jordan Tate sent us this list of different projects he uses, and each of these links to a PDF of the assignment. One of the ones I like on here that I was thinking would be nice in this time when we're all, you know, connected virtually is a Layer Tennis Tournament. That's an online game, essentially, where like one person lobs an image to another person and then they manipulate it and send it back. So that could be a great project to do right now, taking advantage of being separated from each other. Okay. Let's see. Am I back? I'm back in the, am I back?
Yeah,
in
you're back.
FotoFika world?
Yeah.
Okay. So window Serenade, John, should we show that?
Yeah, I'll move to it right now.
So this project came, so I was teaching, one of the classes I'm teaching this semester is a 2D studio, and the project we would be heading into in a few weeks is a, would have been an artist book that required us to have access to printmaking resources and things that they just don't have. And I was thinking, you know, sort of about the difference between our expectations for students when we started the semester and the situation we're in at the present. And for me, like, one of the really important things is to release myself and the students from all of these expectations and to take advantage of the moment that we're in. So how can we be responsive to these particular conditions and, you know, the stress that we're feeling, but also like being virtual, being inside our homes, and so on. And so I started thinking about Shannon Castleman's work. And then I was just thinking about like the window and the frame as a kind of historic device for thinking about perception. And I was thinking about the window in photography and this kinds of like historic arguments about photography as a window or a mirror. And so the project evolved out of that. And then as I was thinking about this, there started to be these serenades in Italy where opera singers were serenading their neighbors as a really kind of beautiful gesture to connect each other. So this project would ask students to choose a public facing window in their house and to transform it in some way.
And I'll scroll down to that. So we listed, you know, a sampling of artists, but Rebekah's got a huge list of artists down below. So,
and a lot of those artists came from looking at lists that people were posting on recent chats. For example, somebody had posted this great question about artists working under duress. And so a lot of these artists came from those conversations.
So it's a really, really impressive list, and it's organized by topic. And then here's the assignment prompt.
So there's an Instagram page set up for this and a Facebook page. I'm probably planning to ask my students to submit work on social media, but they could also email it in and have it posted another way. And it could take place anytime. Those sites are up and ready.
Yeah, and I like the idea of, you know, getting a good number of us, if people are interested in doing this during this upcoming month, as a way to respond to everything that's happening around us. So if we were to all turn our windows into galleries that could share, you know, our experiences and our hopes and our encouragement to our fellow citizens, it could be a really beautiful gesture. So,
ready to?
Yeah, we should move to Betsy and Anne and just about, you know, they're gonna, yeah, go ahead.
Thank you, Rebekah. Wow, it's like I'm a little bit, I'm super impressed. I mean, I knew about it already, but it's great to see all that. And I'm going to talk a little bit more practically, although I want to start by taking off on what you said about expectations. I'm also a parent of college students, so I've joined some frantic parent groups, a senior, and we're going to talk a little bit more next week about seniors and thesis shows. But one of the threads I was on today was a woman who said that her son has more work than he had before. And I mentioned something, and then she said, well, actually he's an art student and he's building something in the living room, but the professor wants him to do these other assignments, these kind of busy work assignments. I mean, admittedly, it's through the mom and through the kid, but she said, you know, he's like, the teacher's grading him on these other assignments. And it started me thinking about, for all of us, continuing to think about letting go of some of our expectations, but also some of the presuppositions I think that we have about online education, which is, you know, I think what we know for the, you know, again, for the courses that we're forced to take that are very much small task oriented. And it just, I wanted to mention it today to as much as possible kind of release yourself from this sense that things have to be measured, and that the goal, I think right now, is to just like get them to build stuff in their living room. Like, and obviously we're all different, but it just started me thinking a lot. And being a parent and a professor, I think I'm getting a lot of really interesting perspectives. But my official thing to talk about right now is going to be to respond to last week's discussion. A lot of questions came out about teaching darkroom. And I had another personal story this week, which was my darkroom class. So, I mean, I think as a lot of you know, I've taught online, but this is my in-person class, and they were so sad. And there's a part of me right now that's like practically gonna cry. I have 3 students who are in quarantine in China right now. They were okay, but they were up in the middle of the night to be in my synchronous class. And I was so surprised at the sadness from all of them about not being able to be in the darkroom. And these are students, this may be the only photo class they have. So a couple things happened. And one of the things that happened was I tried to teach them how to make homemade scans by taping negatives to the window. It's another window assignment. And it was not a huge success, but I put it up on Instagram, and I got help from other professors or teachers. Like Matthew Monteith gave me some advice, and I'll put it up. And one of my students said she actually is working at it and has figured out how to make it work. And I got an email from her today. Oh, one more thing. Sorry, this is typical Betsy. One more thing that I thought of is I had a student ask if in the fall she'd be able to get back in the darkroom. And I was like, maybe we could do something. Maybe we could do a workshop. And her face like totally brightened. And it was the nicest interaction I had all week. So I just want to throw that out there, as I'm feeling like the darkroom class is a huge challenge. And if you look at our thread and some of the questions that were some of the problems we're trying to solve, I think there's no clear solution. But I do think that, I mean, I wanted to share the fact that it was kind of more emotional than I expected, and a challenge in ways I hadn't expected. But that I think that there's some possibilities, and I think maybe figuring out what are the biggest losses. And one more thing is, Carol Golombowski is gonna Zoom into my class from her darkroom, which I know we're gonna talk a little bit more about the possibility, the visiting artist idea. So I just wanted to talk a little bit about my like kind of my personal experiences this week with those classes. And I think, I didn't know if I need to go over the Q&A about that. No, but I wanted to open this up right now to talk to all of you about your experiences, and I mean, almost like a therapeutic, like what's happening for those of you who are trying to teach darkroom without a darkroom.
So this is about the time when we transition, so far as if we've done this so many times, but this is the time where we're going to transition to questions in the chat feature. If you haven't taken our attendance roll, do put your name and email address in there. But please do add your questions. Even if you speak them, add them to the chat. Because as John was saying, last week I distilled 10 single-page lines of questions in order to come up with that Q&A. And we will continue to do that. So at this stage of the game, please make sure that you're typing those in there as well. And Betsy and John and I are going to do our best to run through those. One of the things that I just wanted to reflect on what Betsy had just said, and something that I would certainly encourage all of you who can work around liability issues in your labs, is when we do get back into our classrooms, for those of you who have facilities that typically wouldn't be available to those students who have graduated or who've moved on to another course, to consider asking your administrators if there are opportunities to waive liability for them to be back in the darkroom, digitally printing, scanning negatives, access to those things that they've missed out on. Certainly we are encouraging our universities to help out in every way that we can, and that's one of them. So,
I just want to clarify, we're talking about the fall. We're not talking about
the fall. Yeah.
We're not talking about getting back on campus right now. We're talking about
creating a window for the fall, and University of the Arts has been doing that already with their seniors. So she's got yeah,
exactly. It's a model that we use. We permit our seniors to come back on campus for 6 months to make scans, to print a little bit, work in the darkroom for sure, and be in our lighting studios with their own equipment. And it's something that we are going to try and expand out, especially for that senior class, because they're missing out on so much. But we're going up through the channels for that.
Yeah, so there's precedent, and that's, if we're, if you're trying to, suggest it to an administrator, there are schools that are doing that. And the more people we can get doing that, the more precedent there is.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I want to just follow on. I mean, I think you guys people already realize this, but I think I'm feeling like a huge part of my job is shifting a little bit to, providing, not in hope to our students is not the right word, but I think there's definitely a therapeutic dimension to what we're doing that's bigger. Admittedly, again, I'm a parent of kids, I'm in the college world, but I really do think that we have a big role here right now. And it's not, teaching the rule of thirds or f-stop and aperture, darkroom. It's really like providing something in their lives. And I think the hope that fall that helping them, you know, deal with the disappointment is a huge thing.